So at this point in time, you should already have your designs sketched out for your puzzle cube project. So what I've got is I've actually got mine right here. So if we take a look, I've got an example here. Notice that I've got 5 different pieces here that make one solved puzzle. You'll notice that I did have to erase this block because I realized that I had 28 blocks. So that was a little bit of a mess up on my part, but I erased it because I realized that I didn't need that piece, or that little block attached to that piece. So anyways, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to represent and communicate this idea for a cube puzzle project in SketchUp. So I'm going to start off with piece number 1 right here, which you'll notice is made up of 3 blocks in that L shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Tinkercad. And when you're on your home page, once you're logged in, you're going to go to create new design, or you can go over to your little avatar over here and you can click new. And what that's going to do is it's going to bring you to a work pane where you can actually design your cubes. Now, Tinkercad does this funny thing where it actually gives it a strange name. You can leave it as that strange name. Mr. Remlad likes to keep things organized by giving his project specific names. So he's going to go ahead and he's going to name this Cube Puzzle Project. Now he might already have one that's named this, so he's going to name it Cube Puzzle Project 2. And then if he clicks out of there, now it's saved as that. First thing you want to do, we're going to be working in inches for this project because each cube is 0.75 inches on each edge of the cube. So what you're first going to do is you're going to go to the bottom right where it says Edit Grid, and you're going to click where it says millimeters and change that to inches. That's a must. You must do that immediately. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to make your project to scale. So you click Update Grid. Now, luckily, with the cube project, everything is mostly made up of cubes, or in this case, Tinkercad calls them boxes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by dragging in a box into my work pane. Now, once I've done that, you'll notice that it's got the length, width, and height listed over here on the right-hand side. Right now, it's 1, 1, and 1, which means that it's 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch. So I want to change that to 0.75 by 0.75 by 0.75. And I just typed those in there and I clicked enter. Okay, so now I've actually got a cube that's the exact same size of the blocks that we are going to be using when we make this project. Now, a couple different ways that you can go about this. So we do know that, again, if I go back to my design, I'm making that first block, okay, which is going to be 3 blocks stacked next to one another in that L shape. So I know that there's going to be 2 blocks stacked next to one another. So those 2 blocks stacked next to one another or on top of one another, that's going to be 0.75 plus 0.75 inches, which is going to be 1.5 inches. So if I go back to my Tinkercad design, I know that one thing that I can do is I can change the height of this to 1.5 inches. Click enter, and that's the same thing as 2 blocks stacked on top of one another. Now, I need to then make this block that's stacked on top of it to the right. So I'm going to come back here. I'm going to add in one of these blocks. And I'm going to type in 0.75, 0.75, and 0.75. Now, if you don't want to do this over and over again, what you can also do is you can click duplicate. So that way you can drag and drop a block over. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move this closer. Okay, so that way it's lined up with the edge. Okay, and I'm going to just orbit around by clicking and dragging here. Okay, and I'm going to click and drag this cone shape up. Okay, notice that it's showing me the height that it's being elevated to the right. Okay, and I'm going to bring it to 3/4 of an inch right here because that's the same as 0.75 inches. I'm going to orbit around this to make sure that it's all looking good, that everything looks like it's lined up, and it does all look lined up. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and group this piece so that way it's all one solid piece. So I'm going to click and drag over that area, which is going to select everything, or you could also hold down Shift and click each piece. Then I'm going to click Control G, which is to group them. All right, last thing I'm gonna do to this one piece is I'm gonna color code it to the same color that I've got in my drawing, which here I've got it as orange. So I'm gonna come back to Tinkercad. I'm gonna change the color here to orange. And now I've got one piece, and you'll notice that I can click and drag it around my workspace. Point in time, you'll notice that I fast forwarded a little bit, and I actually created all the different pieces to my puzzle in Tinkercad. So now as I orbit around, I can see all the pieces, and what's really neat about this is you can actually click and drag once you have all your pieces grouped together. You can click and drag, and this is going to make sure that all of your pieces work in order to actually solve your puzzle. So you'll notice that I'm pulling them all apart, but you can also pull them all together as well. So that way you see that it actually creates a 2.25 inch by 2.25 inch by 2.25 inch cube for your jigsaw puzzle.